So welcome to the first episode of Higher Visions and Awaken with Linda Graham. And before I begin to talk about my journey, I just want to talk about now, right now. We're coming to the end of June. We've been in this lockdown experience and it's been quite interesting, different people's reactions to it. And I wondered where you were and how you felt about it. Some people feel like it's a hoax, some people are taking it incredibly seriously, some people are so frightened it's a shame, and some people are just totally enjoying having an excuse perhaps not to go gallivanting everywhere, and also to get on with some things that they've been meaning to do for a while, including catching up with yourself. And I've certainly been doing that. One of the things, I'm right in the middle now of Tao Healing Hands course, and I'm really excited about that. And I just wanted to share something with you for us to perhaps start this experience off. So if you just put one hand on your solar plexus and your right hand on your heart, and just say this with me. I love my heart and soul. Well, I'm just checking it. I love all humanity. Join hearts and souls together. Love, peace and harmony. Love, peace and harmony. And isn't that what we wish? It's a really good little prayer to start the day off. There is a tune to go with it, but I can't remember what that is. Right now I'm sort of kind of learning Chinese words and all sorts of Mandarin words, so it's got a journey, but I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it so very much. Okay, so last episode we talked about my experiences of overlaying of faces when my friend, his face kept changing into hundreds of different people all the time. Very disconcerting, very freaky at the time. So as I say, if you haven't seen that episode, it's probably good to look at that first before I continue. So I was in the process of having a move. So I did move, and I moved to this lovely magical cottage, actually in Chelsea, in the village where I live right now. Something amazing about this village, and I feel lucky to be here. I think I'm meant to be here. I've been here 3 times now. I've lived here 3 times now, so I'm kind of getting the message. Sometimes it takes a while for the penny to drop in. So the overseeing of faces, I settled into the cottage, and lots of things happened in that cottage, opening me up to magic and manifesting. And I've been there a little while, and my friend Jay had come with me, and just for a little while he was on a stepping stone to somewhere else in his life. We kind of both knew that. And the overseeing of faces started to happen with him again and again, and it was really, every time it happened, it would really make me jump. I was sitting talking to a dark-haired, brown-eyed guy, and then suddenly there'd be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. Wow, what an experience that was. Please excuse the noises in the background. I have got the doors open, so it's a bit like we're in the real world right now. So hopefully the noises will calm down. Okay, so this only seemed to happen with him. When I was sitting concentrating with him, this would happen, and be really disconcerting when he suddenly turned into this other person. And then I had a client come to see me, and during the consultation with her, she started having these changes of faces. And each time it happened, it really, once again, made me jump. And I really didn't understand what was going on at the time with this. So I did a meditation, and I asked Spirit, what did this mean? What was I experiencing? Was it something to be concerned about? Although somehow I knew it wasn't. And Spirit said to me, what you have is visual telepathy. So when you're in tune with somebody and really concentrating on them, if somebody thinks of them, whether they're on the earth plane or whether they're in spirit, you suddenly see that person turn into the other person. And I thought back to different times, like when I met my husband, and his face kept turning into somebody very dear to me who died when I was 17, and it was very confusing at the time. But I didn't really question it at that time, because it was a long morning I was in. So I thought, okay, that's exactly what it was, that this person was trying to connect with me at that time. So here I was, it happened outside of the J connection, and here I am with clients, and this is happening, and I'm jumping out of my skin during a consultation, which was a bit freaky for them as well. And then once I understood what it was about, I settled into it, and it started happening more, and it still happens to this day. So it gives me a great understanding, and sometimes I can give a full description of who I'm seeing, and then I can get an understanding of their personality. So it helps those people that I'm working with to understand who I'm talking about. So that was the overseeing of faces and visual telepathy. So have any of you got visual telepathy? Have you had friends' faces, family's faces warping into another? If you have and you didn't know what it was, well, that's what it was about. Excuse me. It's very hot. Very hot. I'm not complaining. I do love it. Okay. So I want to talk to you about the day I met the Maharaji Dhilan Singh. Maharaji Dhilan Singh. Wow. So I was living in Cambridgeshire, and some friends invited me to a satsang at Haynes Park in Bedford. And so I drove along, and I said I'd meet them. They said, well, you probably won't meet us and find us to begin with, because the satsang, is a place where everyone sits, and then you have a guest speaker, usually somebody very spiritual, and they share their understandings of life and spirituality. So here we were going to have this experience. There's going to be so many people there. We'll find you later. We'll meet up with you after the satsang, and we'll have a picnic. So I drove there. It was a beautiful day, really, really lovely, perfect summer day in England. And I really enjoyed the 40-minute ride from my home to Haynes Park. And as I drew into Haynes Park, there were people lined either side of the path, and they each one bowed like this as you drove past. And I felt like I'd come home. I felt like I'd had a vision of something like this before. So it kind of, oh dear, we're having a sort of interesting episode today. Never mind. I drove up this path slowly, and I mean, there must have been at least 25 people to 30 people each side of the path. Wow, what an entrance. And then I saw the biggest open marquee I had ever seen in my life. Absolutely massive. There were loads of people milling around. And lots of people started to take a seat. So the seat consisted of the cushion you brought to sit on. So I took my glass of my bottle of water, my cushion, and I proceeded to find a space in there and sat down. And right in the far end, there was 3 massive plasma screens, and I was like really quite excited what was going to happen. And then there in the distance you saw somebody coming into the marquee, and then suddenly up on the screens you saw the Maharaji walking in his whites. And I just, I can't explain it, except for I just loved him absolutely immediately. My heart just opened, bang, like this to him. And then I started to laugh. I couldn't stop laughing. I tried to smother laughter. I just couldn't. It's just the joyous laughter that was coming through me. Well, the looks of disgust I had from people around me who were sitting very seriously. You know, his lordship was here and his worshipness, etc. And I kept having to stifle this laugh. But I felt so elated. It was like I had been told the best joke ever, and my heart was blown open. And I really loved the address that the Maharaji Dhilan Singh gave in this satsang. Really, really wonderful, really great, and to the point, not dressed up and all flowery like can happen sometimes with spiritual development people. And then people were able to stand up and ask questions. They'd go to a microphone and they would ask questions, and they'd be going, "Oh, your worshipness, your holiness, your graciousness," and he's going, "Yes, yes, come on, get on with it." And I loved that. I loved it. Just such succinct, and let's just do this thing. And I just felt absolutely like I'd been lifted up, and I was so filled with energy, and I just felt amazing. So after the satsang, we went and looked at the amazing books that you could buy, and I bought a few books like you do. And then I did find my friends quite easily, and we had a lovely picnic together. It was very, very good. So that was Magda and David that I spent that afternoon with, which was so nice. So we had a lovely catch up. And then it's time to go. Still a lovely warm afternoon, and I felt like I was walking on air. I waved my friends goodbye, and I got in my car to do the 40-minute drive home. Well, I started to drive, and I started to drive down the road, and I suddenly had this absolute wave of tiredness come over me. Just as I went past this lay-by, just as I'm in line with this lay-by, and I start to have this incredible tiredness. And I thought, I've got a 40-minute drive to get home. What on earth's the matter with me? So I opened some more windows, and I mean, it was warm, but what's going on? Anyway, I was driving up the road, and not really that far away was another lay-by. And again, I started to feel this incredible tiredness come over me. Well, me being sort of stubborn, I can get home, I'll be able to get home and then I can rest. I just carried on driving. And then as I was going up the road and up a hill, and I could see in the distance there was another lay-by. I knew 3 lay-bys in such close proximity. What's that telling me? To pull in. So that's exactly what I did. When I got to the 3rd lay-by, I pulled in. I was being hit with this tiredness. I wound the windows up, locked the doors, and bang, I was gone. I was gone for hours and hours and hours. I woke up eventually. It was dusk, dark. I don't know what time it was. I didn't know for a moment where I was. And somehow I drove home. Probably not a good idea in that state, but I couldn't just sit there in the middle of nowhere. So I got home and practically crawled on my hands and knees upstairs. My sons, who are quite, pretty grown up by now, they're all probably out partying or something, but I get in and I crawl upstairs to my bed. Well, I visited the bathroom, went to bed, out like a light again. And apart from the comfort breaks I needed to have from that resting, I stayed there, for about 2 days in that bed, just sleeping, just unable to wake up. I was just like, eventually I woke up, I thought, God, I've got sleeping sickness or something. Really don't know what this is about. So anyway, here I am, I'm awake now and I can get on with things, and I get on with things. And a few weeks later, maybe a couple of months later, Magda called me and she said, how are you and how did you get on at a satsang? And I said to her, something really, really strange happened to me. I said, I'm really a bit worried about it. I don't know what happened. So I told her what happened to me, explained about the 3 laybys and me pulling into the third one, knowing that it was going to happen again, and how I'd stayed in the car all that time and then eventually got home, etc. What happened. Anyway, she started laughing. So I said, why is that funny? I really don't understand. I feel kind of concerned. She was laughing. She said, oh, you made a real powerful connection with the Maharaji. He needed to connect with you. I said, that was silly. Of course he wouldn't needed to connect with me. Maybe I needed to connect with him. She said, no, he needed to connect with you, Linda. And because your journey on this earth. And she said, you were in Samadhi Trance. So I said, Samadhi what? So I hadn't even heard of Samadhi Trance. Maybe many of you have. But Samadhi Trance is, is where you just go. You just cannot avoid this. You cannot avoid this. We can say, I feel tired, but you have those times where not only do you feel tired, you just put your head back and then you're gone. And that's where I was. And she said that yogis, when you see gurus, they will have somebody standing either side of them wherever they go, just in case they suddenly go into Samadhi Trance, so they can be caught and supported. So she thought it was very thrilling, and I was just like, wow. So she said you were obviously connecting on a high level, so you couldn't function in this vibration, and in this dimension. You're obviously in a different dimension at that time. So it kind of made sense to me. But every time I think about the Maharaji dinner sing, it just makes my heart sing. It really makes my heart sing. And I remember that day, and it's just magical. And maybe one day I will meet him. Who knows? If it's meant to be. I met him that way, and that I did meet his heart, and that was good enough for me. Sometimes we don't even need to share a word. And then so it's very interesting. So do let me know if you've had any of these episodes, these going into trance, this Samadhi Trance. Had you heard of it before? I hope by sharing this has helped you. So now I want to talk a bit about the 3rd dimension and the 5th dimension. So how many of you know about this? And so the 3rd dimension is where we've been living for rather a long time, a few thousand years. And it is this basic kind of grounded life, everyday life. It's where in the 3rd dimension there's love and there's anger and there's pain and there's difficulties, and it's fraught with difficulties, and we're kind of brought up to know that's bound to happen, and that's kind of this 3rd dimensional world. Now you can meet some people who don't buy into any of that negativity, and whatever you say to them that has a negative connotation, they come back and see it with a different mindset. And that's definitely what's been happening to me. And this is where we've gone into and connected with the 5th dimension. Now we've got the 3rd dimension, then we've got the 4th dimension, which is time, and then we've got the 5th dimension. This is where the world is ascending to. So you may find that at times you're in the 5th dimension, and at times you move away from a collective thinking of, oh yeah, that's really negative. Oh no, I would have been really annoyed about that, yes. Into, I wonder why that happened. What is the gift that this can give us in this experience? And even though it looks wrong, it must be right somewhere, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. It's quite a good way of looking at it. Everything that happens is meant to happen. If it wasn't meant to happen, it wouldn't have happened. And whoever experiences it will experience it from their perspective and their understanding. So, like lots of people say to me, God, Linda, you've always got a positive word to say about everything, as if it's a really bad thing, but I can't help it. It's just the way I am now. It wasn't how I always was. I remember being in that third dimension and being in that, oh, woe is me and life is bad and pity me because I'm having a really bad time, and yes, it's just going on and it's probably going to keep happening. That was me a long while ago. Whereas now I'm going, why did I choose to have that experience? Because every experience we have, we drew it towards us for a reason. And I've talked to you about the nadis and how we create our future and our consciousness by what we choose to think about, what flavour we want to give those thoughts. All write our script for the future. As we think, so it is. So if something is happening that isn't positive, I'm immediately, why have I chosen that? When did I choose that? That's interesting. All right, okay, I'm glad I realised that. Let me clear that. I don't want to be looking at things in that way. I don't want to choose things that trip me up. I want to flow with joy and love and be available to help as many people as I can along my journey. I feel like that's kind of my sole purpose in this lifetime, to help people see things in a lighter way that's much easier to carry than all this, oh, you see what happens to your shoulders just go down. It's like you've got no hope. In the fifth dimension, we have light. There's not the darkness. We take on board responsibility for everything that's happening for us. Now, some of us may find that we've got 1 foot in the fifth dimension and 1 foot in the third dimension, so it's like going through sliding doors, and you're interacting with people. 1 minute you're interacting with, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, it's lovely, it's gracious, it's gorgeous, in those lovely, uplifted, open-hearted ways of thinking and communication. And the next minute you're with somebody who's going, oh, it's just not fair, it all keeps happening to me and it's really, really bad and it's their fault, they keep making this happen. And obviously you can't say, well, actually it's your fault, that these people aren't really ready. But you can actually say, well, bless you, let's hope this changes and let's hope that some light comes into your life, and so it doesn't really continue in that way. They may start just brushing off what you said. Bless them, that's their choice entirely. As I say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We can get pulled into this level, third level, or we can rise above it into the fifth level. I know where I want to stay. And this painting behind, the Ascension painting that came during lockdown, is all about us ascending into brighter, uplifted universe, brighter, uplifted communications. And there's a lot of things that are coming to the surface during this lockdown. A lot of things are coming to the surface, some of which are true, some of which aren't. Who knows, the entire truth. But lots of things are emerging out of the woodwork, and we are seeing big changes in this world. And nothing is going to be the same again. And it can't. to, it's all about evolution, isn't it? We can't, if we stay stuck in the way it's always been, we're not going to evolve. We're not going to grow. And it is time for us to grow and evolve and develop and have more fun and have more joy and have more peace. More peace, please. More peace. Love, peace, and harmony. Love, peace, and harmony. Join together, hearts and souls. That's exactly what we need. Love, peace, and harmony. Everybody matters. All humanity. We have entire choice which direction we go in. I wish love, peace, and harmony to this world. So if you find that there are people that you just don't resonate with anymore, if you don't understand it and you feel a bit guilty about it, don't worry. That is because this great divide is happening. Some people are insisting in staying in the third dimension, and some people just can't meet with those people anymore. It's just not working for them. Or they do because of compassion, but you can't get stuck and left behind. You can't diminish your own ascension because you're staying with somebody who wants to stay stuck. Excuse me. So you can offer them support and advice. You can't do it for them. So it's like you can teach a child to do their shoelaces up, but you can't keep doing them for them because they'll never learn, they'll never grow, and they'll never be able to do that for themselves. So it's exactly the same. So don't feel disheartened and dismayed if there are some people that it just doesn't work for you anymore. Just understand that you're coming from a different place, a different perspective that they're unable to see at the moment. So, and don't be dismayed. Bless them. Leave little nuggets for them to think about. And sometimes we might have said something to somebody over and over again. Love, peace and harmony, love, peace and harmony. Nothing. It's not changing. No, they're determined to stay negative in this third dimensional world. And then it takes one other person they've never met to say, do you know what? Harmony, peace and love is the way. And they go, do you know what? That's right. It doesn't matter who it was that triggered them off. They're like suddenly running after you. Hopefully they will catch up. That would be really great. So don't be dismayed. Don't get anchored down by somebody else's journey. And that is an interesting one if it's a family member. If it's a family member, then you can feel these words. I should, I have to, I've got to. If they're in the way of adult, if they're getting towards adult, remember we've got to let them go to become adult, to learn. And sometimes learning means by making mistakes and realizing that isn't the way to go. We can leave the golden nuggets. We can say, I'm here for you, I love you. I'm here for you, not while you're choosing to do that. It's not conditional, I'll always love you. Whatever you do, it just doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. So allowing them to say, the door is always open for you. Your heart, my heart, you're in my heart. But you can't anchor yourself down in their journey. It's their journey, not yours. And that's really important. And I hear time and time again from people, my clients who come to see me from sometimes group conversation, where people are held back by somebody else who's determined to stay in that lower vibration. So pray for them, say, no thank you, but I love you, I'll always be there for you, my heart is here. Go home and pray for them. Praying is brilliant, and writing affirmations is absolutely brilliant. I had to write an affirmation. I was writing a service for somebody the other day, and I was talking in the future in this service of how it is now. And one of the paragraphs I wrote in this future time of how it is has actually already come true. It's just like, as I'd written it in a fifth dimensional way, that particular thing has already happened, like within days of me writing it. So I'm really excited. Affirmations, write down those affirmations, start to make things happen. It's really brilliant. Start to make things happen in a conscious sort of way. Now, I want to talk to you about the collective consciousness. And in fact, I do have a painting that I'll somehow see if I can get that clipped in at the end of this film, because it's important. The collective consciousness. This painting I've done just shows what I'm talking about. And so in this, the way it is, every time we have a thought, where do you think the thoughts go? Okay, they stay in your head. You know, sometimes your head feels so full of thoughts it feels like it's going to explode. You know what I mean? Well, in actual fact, every thought we have leaves our head in like a barcode. It goes up to the collective consciousness and leaves a vibration there. Okay, if it's to do with us, it goes along our personal timeline and helps to create a magnetic pull into that future. If we're thinking about somebody else, that thought goes to their timeline and drops an anchor there. So even if they don't think, oh yes, Bert's just been thinking about me, they suddenly sort of feel it in their deep subconscious. So it's quite interesting. So every thought you have isn't actually private. You might think it is. You might feel like you're completely on your own because nobody knows what goes on inside your head. But it goes up to the collective consciousness. And all your guides and your angels and your ascended masters and the divine light have got your back. They've got your back. They're there to support whatever you choose in this earth. They're there to support you. But they all know of those thoughts ascending up to the collective consciousness. Now, think about this collective consciousness of thoughts. So you have a brilliant idea. You invent something. Now, how often have we heard that somebody's invented something and somewhere right across the other side of the world, somebody else has invented exactly the same thing? You both picked it from this pool of collective consciousness, and perhaps you both experienced a download. So a lot of our creative ideas, many of our creative ideas, are not particularly born of our genius, although perhaps we'd like to think it is, but we collect it, we download it from the collective consciousness, from those higher realms. It's really, really powerful. But that definitely happens, and we have heard of that over and over again. And it's why animals, you might get chimpanzees or something on one island many moons ago, and one of them takes a banana and puts a skin, he puts it on his head because he gets noticed more, the chimp with blonde hair. And over in another island a long way away, another chimp does the same at the same time. So that's from the collective consciousness. So it's affecting animals as well. So I think animals have an understanding of this, this communication that happens in this higher frequency. They're more consciously and more attuned to that. And maybe we were a long, long time ago. And maybe we're getting like that again. We are coming into a time in this ascension process where our thoughts are no longer going to be private. So, it's like absolute panic when you think about that. You might say to somebody, oh, it's lovely to see you, and think, oh, God, inside. Oh, hope I don't see them for 6 months. So, is known, and some people will know whether you're really being truthful. So if you're not, if you haven't got anything really good to say, perhaps don't say anything. But um, if you feel that you don't want to be bosom pals with somebody, you just say, "Hi, I hope you're well," and you move on. It doesn't say, "Oh, hello, it's lovely to see you. Come here, let me give you a hug." It just means I know you, I wish you well, and you move on. And so any leakage of thoughts that says, "Oh God, it's her again or him again," is fine. It's absolutely fine. But people are beginning to know, and you may have been feeling this when people are being disingenuine with you. And in fact, actually, talking of that, I had this, I started to have this knowing whether people were lying to me. Somebody was telling me a really downright bad lie. They would come out of their mouths in sort of dark grey or blacks. And that was kind of quite handy, a bit unnerving. But I remember telling somebody about this new ability I had, and just within earshot was somebody who used to tell me some dastardly lies, and he got so angry and freaked out by it, which didn't surprise me at all. So think about it. Think about those conversations you want to have with somebody you don't know even where to start. Sit at home, go into your heart, and tell them the truth from your heart. Tell them the truth from your heart. It will go up into the collective consciousness, and somewhere in that energy field, they will feel it. Sometimes when people do this, they then meet on the dreamscape, and then they have an interaction and things happen and it gets better. And then when they actually see each other in real dimension, this dimension, then it's suddenly okay. So don't feel you haven't got a voice. Don't feel you can't say something. You can send a message up through the collective consciousness. It doesn't use any of your data. You don't need a special phone to do it. You can just do it from your heart and talk from your heart and talk your truth. And there's nothing wrong with your truth. It may not always be the full picture, but it's the truth as you see it. That's really important. It's like you look at a cup. Some people will look at that cup and they will see it's got a lovely pattern on the front. It's got a lovely flower on the front. Other people will see it's plain because they're looking at the back and there is no pattern. Other people will say it's a vessel but it has no handle because they can't see the handle. Another person will say, well, that's a cup, it's got a handle. Some people will say see a bit of the plane, a bit of the handle, and a bit of the pattern. It's all perspectives. So, more knowledge, more understanding comes to us when we work from our hearts. It becomes easier to understand. So, anybody that's on their spiritual journey, we're working with our hearts, and I want to send you lots and lots of love from mine. I feel so emotional lately since we've been doing this ascension process and really, getting into a higher vibration. And it's so beautiful that it just makes me emotional. And if you've been coming lately more and more emotional, that will be why, when you don't even understand why. So, okay, I now want to talk about families, that love that binds us together. Now, many of us, have got families that are absolutely fantastic. We all get on really well. We love sharing time together. It's such a hoot to be together, and that's absolutely fantastic. But not everyone is like that. And if I was to tell you that you chose your parents, your birth parents, to have experiences with, some of you might be really aghast about that. You're joking. I chose my mother, or I chose my father. Well, whatever experiences you're learning through them is helping you grow in some way, and you chose that experience. It doesn't mean to say you have to stay in that experience, but you chose the experience for the length of time that you're in it. Sometimes we meet other families and we think, oh, this mother or this father is just idyllic. I wish they were my mother. I feel like I can talk to this person. I can get on with them so easily. They get me. They understand me. And if you feel like that, wow, lots of people feel like that. And sometimes what it means is that person, that parent from another family, is part of your tribe. Is the person who's on your wavelength. You know, it's like when you meet somebody, it's a complete stranger, and within minutes you feel like you've known them for years, and you just know you're going to know each other for years. And it's just yummy. It's lovely chocolate cake or something, gorgeous to eat. It's just delicious, delicious friendships. You love them immediately, and you can't explain it. They're part of your soul tribe family. So we have our birth family and we have our soul tribe family, the people that we resonate with, the people that are growing at our rate, the people that really get us when we say love, peace and harmony. I wish for love, peace and harmony. And I take responsibility for my actions. So, you know, when it comes to friends, we've all had friends. We have some friends we've known forever. I know people who've met at playgroup and they're still friends sort of 60 years later. It's just amazing. And they're what we call golden friends. And we usually can count on one hand golden friends that we will have in our lives. I can definitely think of my golden friends. Then we have the bit players who come and go in our lives. It's like we're in a film, and you know, some people leave the film, some people, you know, move on to another film and they join somebody else's story. And so people come and go, friends come and go. So it's really important to understand and expect people to come and go. And don't get upset about it. Don't get caught up with it, and don't get back into I should, I have to, I've got to. Maybe you know. So change those words. Should, I've got to, I have to. Change it to I could. Let me think about it. I might. I'd love to. That's the number one. I'm not doing it. So this is a much better way of being honest with yourself. Instead of that should, I have to, I've got to, I must. It's my duty. And it's all duty. All those words are duty. They're not coming from the heart. Of course, when we've got little children, yes, it is our responsibility to take care of those children, make sure they're loved and fed and well and encouraged, of course. And if we don't feel we're doing a very good job of that, we find somebody else who can do that for us while we go and do something else at work or something like that. And so we do our duty, but we do it for another person coming in who's better at doing that. So remember, the next time you start a sentence with the words I have to, oh, I've got to, oh, I must, stop. Take a breath. What is your truth? Do you really want to? Do you really, really want to do this? Don't just dash into it. Say to somebody, if you're a yes person, oh yes, yes, oh yes, I'll volunteer for that. Oh yes, yes. You know, there are some people who can abuse that good nature, and they just know that you're going to say yes. So you just need to say, let me check my diary and I'll get back to you. This is your pause for thought sentence. and it will really, really help you going forward. Now, some people will start to leave your arena because you're not playing the game. You are always reliable. They could always lean on you for everything, completely everything. They haven't had to learn anything because you did it for them. And if in your heart you're saying, actually, I don't really want to do this anymore, that is your truth. You just have to come back to them and say, I really can't, I really, not this time. I can't help you this time. So what could you do? How can you do this for yourself? Maybe help them to do it that way. If you can't, just say, I'm really sorry. Okay, hope you get it sorted. It's not your responsibility. Okay, the only adult you need to take responsibility for is you. Okay, and you are definitely worth it. Really, really worth it. Okay, we may have somebody, in having said that, we may have some elderly, we may have adults around us who need taken care of. And we either do it out of our heart, we do it with goodwill, or we find somebody else who can do it for you so you can have precious time in a different way, not in the have to's, got to's, must do's. Okay? It's really important to be your truth. Be your truth, be authentic. Feel the weight coming off of you. Feel the peace coming off of you. What do you think about that? So let's collectively just put our hands on our hearts. Think about the world. Think about the fifth dimension. Place of joy, of peace, of openness, honesty, where you can be your true authentic self. You can come to terms and be at peace with yourself. Let's send out loving thoughts to the world and hope that the world will rise into authentic and beautiful, sharing, compassionate, beautiful, light-filled dimension belonging to the fifth. Okay, there we go. So I've really enjoyed sharing this with you. Hope you've enjoyed it, and well, let's connect again with the next episode. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the reminder bell so you don't miss any future. We're going more now towards some sharing and teaching. So please leave your comments and share this with friends if you've enjoyed this. And I will say, Namaste. So in the sixth episode coming up, I'm going to be talking about as you grow and develop your spirituality, you grow this light around you and you expand in your heart, we can expect the darkness to also expand around you as well, because we have the yin and we have the yang. And when I'm discussing this, I want to talk about how that situation interacts with your pain body, the subtle body. And that's a really big stumbling block for a lot of people, the pain body. We will talk about the antidote for all of that and how to keep it all in check. And it's really, really important. And I'm sure there'll be lots more little experiences I will share with you on the way. So, as I say, if you enjoyed this fifth episode, please hit the subscribe button and the reminder bell. And I look forward to connecting with you again in the future. Namaste to you. Namaste.